What is going on, everybody? My name is Kyle Springer.
I'm Paul Kang.
And we are the Whatnauts.
You're goddamn right we are.
And you are listening to another exciting episode of The Captain's Log.
Ah, The Captain's Log.
Definitely. Each week, Paul and I are going to get to hang out and get into a bunch of shenanigans. So we'll be talking about all sorts of stuff here.
Fuck yeah.
Including, we have some show notes here, kind of. Including a Game of Thrones kind of anime thing.
Okay.
And Paul, you also started watching Black Mirror Season 4, right?
I didn't start, motherfucker. I watched the whole season.
Oh, you finished it.
I finished it, the 6 episodes.
Okay.
I finished it.
Okay.
And I watched Star Trek Discovery, which is probably the best sci-fi TV show currently out right now. It's mind-boggling.
Sweet.
It's amazing.
Dive into that in just a sec, but if you are watching this live on Twitch right now, you will notice that I have my camera on, and that it is pretty snazzy because I got some green screen behind me and all of that stuff. I'm actually going to be keeping my camera off for most of the time because Paul doesn't have that stuff just yet, but we are saving up, and we will be...
I mean, is there a way for us to do both?
I can eventually put your I can put your camera on there, but it won't be like the fancy green screen thing that I have.
I mean, I'm fine with that.
But we can do that another time. I'm actually gonna keep my camera off, just at least for this one. But that is something to look forward to for everyone out there, because we are saving up to make this show that much better. It's going to be sweet, so I'm going to turn my camera off now. Bam. Cool. Dude, this is our first Captain's Log of 2018.
My God.
Stardate 2018.
Yeah. Surreal.
Yeah.
My mouth, this mic. 2018. That sounded weird.
It's happening. Yeah. So we have kind of decided to restart our numbering on the Captain's Log with this stuff. This is we're officially calling this episode 1, even though it's technically not really episode 1. We've been doing the Captain's Log for a long time. And even before it was the Captain's Log, we were doing like mini episodes of the Whatnauts for our Patreon people and stuff like that. But yeah, since we are now streaming everything live, we were like, you know what? Let's be like comic books and make it really confusing and redo our numbering.
Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds great. So here we are with number 1. But how are you, Paul? What's been going on this week?
I'm doing great. I got 3 things I want to talk about.
Yeah. Those
unemployment checks.
Okay. Ooh, unemployment
Black
checks.
Mirror Season 4, and what do you call it? Star Trek Discovery Season 1.
Yeah.
Or half of it.
Yeah.
Dude, unemployment. So, we all know what unemployment checks are, right?
Hopefully, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
and the
hopefully
money...
not from personal experience, but who knows? It happens, you know.
When Americans hear unemployment checks, they think of, very specific imagery. I think in Europe, though, it's different. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like in America, it's seen as like, oh, you're just like you're not contributing to society. You're just getting this because you're a citizen, and you can. We think of people taking the money and, gambling with it or buying drugs. You know what I mean?
Or at least that's what Fox News would have us
Exactly.
believe, you know?
Exactly. But in Europe, I think it's a bit different. Not that people don't take advantage of the system, but, like, it's just a bit different, the feel for it.
Yeah.
And I was at the subway yesterday, just talking to my friend. I just saw him by coincidence. I saw him, and I was like, hey, what's going on, man? Great guy, like Portuguese, kind of Brazilian. And I'm talking to him, and he's like, "By the way, are you on unemployment?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "I don't know if I qualify." And he's like, "Dude, you worked for exactly a year, you paid your taxes every month, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I think you're entitled, whether or not you're a citizen. He's like, you should be there today, like, applying for this shit. And I was like, I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, it's right. Like, I worked for a year. I was let off honorably. You know, I paid my taxes every month for a year. And I was like, and he was like, yeah, you're entitled to like 500 euros a month for 18 months.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and I already have a place to stay. So I'm like,
it's still just like an extra paycheck.
dude, that's weed, that's like clothing, that's food, that's dates with my girlfriend, you know. Not that I'm like and
transportation
again,
to go find a second job.
Exactly. yeah, it's like $50 a month for the bus for the month. And I was like, huh, like that's pretty cool. And also they have like you know, you submit your CV or resume. They like look for jobs for you while they're paying you out. And they're giving you money that you're entitled to, you know. And so I was like, oh shit. And I was like, cuz me, I don't buy Nikes. I don't you know, I don't eat out every night.
Yeah, you don't buy as many comics and stuff like I do, or video games.
The only subscription I have is to Netflix, which is useful. I
for
could
the
do
show.
it as hell. I could do it for a tax off, like a tax write-off. You know,
technically. I mean,
so
we're
it's like
not a company yet, so I'm not even sure how that works
Yeah,
out. But
yeah.
you know.
But like, I'm not a greedy guy. I'm not looking to take advantage of anyone. I'm just like, this is kind of a time for me to discover what my next move is.
Right.
And I have a place to stay. I just need a little pocket change, you know, just to live, to buy necessities. And I was like,
to not feel like your clock is running out here.
Yeah, I'm 26. You know, I turned 27 this year.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of like, oh God, 30. I'm closer to 30 than 20. So I was just like, let's figure it out and have a little pocket change in the meantime, you know. And you know, if I get a job, great. But I just want to like, you know, I want to figure out who I am. I know how white that sounds. So no offense. Have my basic needs. I'm sorry how Swedish that sounds. But yeah. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. And I have talked about it. And I applied for it today. It was super easy. I went to my job. They're like, "Oh, we'll just fill this out and we'll just pick it up tomorrow."
Cool.
I was like, "Okay." I take it and I give it to some people. Blah blah. But I was just kind of like, "Oh yeah, that's available." You know, like I paid my taxes. Like shit. Like they let me go without warning, just 3 weeks before. I'm entitled to this. So yeah. What are your thoughts on that as an American?
I mean, it's an experience that I don't know anything about. So I've at times like thought of it when I like couldn't get a job for a long time. Thankfully, like my parents have been super supportive and have helped me out in times of need. So I've never actually like needed to go on that. But you know, it's like I said, it's helpful to have just that extra, you know, $20 in your pocket and just be like, hey, go, you know, you'll be fine, you'll be okay, you know, just
yeah, and it's
out,
money that I've
good.
put into the system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like directly, like it might be in the same neighborhood, but yeah. So I'm like, oh shit, that's pretty cool, and like I can live off $500 a month. You know what I mean? Like I'm a pretty responsible guy. I don't drink. I don't, you know, party. I just smoke weed and I just hug my girlfriend. That's it. And we eat spaghetti at night. You know, I'm not hurting anyone.
Spaghetti again? God damn it.
Yeah. So, you know, like I'm excited about that. But that's all I really have to say about it. Is there something that else that you want to say, or do you want to like tennis ball?
Well, so you lost your job technically like the week or so before Christmas. I heard kind of what you did over the holidays, but what if like, I mean, what's your day-to-day looking like? What are you like exploring parks? Are you, you know, sitting there catching up on TV shows.
I realize that I'm in this kind of privileged bubble right now where I have a little bit saved up in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
I live at home with my parents, but they've already paid off the house, so you know what I mean. Like you don't really need to pay rent.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the house is theirs. They just pay electricity and water.
Right.
You know, and I take like a shower a week, so I'm not. I eat food that they cook. You know, I'm not like. So like, I don't feel. I'm kind of in like this privileged area where I'm like, okay, like, my parents taking care of me, but like, not really. Like I'm just there. And I can smell unemployment checks coming, which I know that sounds weird, but you know, I gotta hustle.
Yeah.
And I just wake up whenever I want. I just.
Isn't that a nice feeling?
Dude, I get up at like 3 p.m. sometimes. I'm just like.
That's like the old Paul that I remember. Like,
Yeah.
I would come home and it's like 3 in the afternoon, and Paul's like, "Oh, good morning." Just like,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah.
That's
And
Paul.
I have a work acumen, like I do, but like, and here's the thing though, I wake up at 3 p.m., but I go to bed at like 4 a.m. Getting work done. Like I'm building my website right now.
Right.
You know, I'm doing stuff for a show.
Yeah, like
I'm-
that's like this is a great opportunity for you to even just like get more art stuff out there.
Just you know, get a website. You know, make another podcast.
Yeah.
Like create all the utensils for that. And
Yeah.
I'm doing that, and I'm like, I have time. Oh my god, I have time. Like it's time. I just have time. It's a good feeling. Like, oh man. I mean, my parents are Korean, so they're. If my parents were white, they'd be like, hey, just you know, discover yourself, find out who you are. We get it. You work for a year. You know, you deserve a couple months. No, my parents are Korean, so they're just like,
you have
"What
to
the
do
fuck?"
something.
Like,
Do something with your life.
What? They're like, are you applying for jobs? And I'm like, it may sound very Coachella right now, but I'm just trying to find myself.
No, my parents were the exact same way. When I was having some trouble finding a job before the one I have now, it's difficult, man, to find a job now. Like
Yeah. Sure.
I was putting in applications and stuff like that, and my mom especially just did not understand that I couldn't find something. Like anything. Like I was applying to like restaurants and grocery stores and whatever, and just nothing would hire me.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, "Well, aren't you putting in applications?" I'm like, "Yes, like that's all I'm doing with my time."
It's like it's a full-time job.
Why
to
aren't you
try to find a
calling
job.
them? I am calling them. Like, well, why aren't you? You should have like 5 interviews. Like, that's not how it works, Mom. Like, I can call them and see if like they have my thing and see if I can push it along. But if they aren't interested, they don't have to do shit. You know,
yeah.
like, and it's just like there's been nothing. You know.
Yeah.
So
And
thankfully
actually,
I have some. But
it's a little bit of a different situation though, because I'm not actively looking. I'm more because I'm
Passively.
not lazy. Like, there's been times where I've been the only male in my family who's had a job. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like I worked full time. I worked hard. I would bike through the snow to get to work on time. I would open up the restaurant, get everything ready. I worked hard, and I worked hard in every country I've been in, and it's just kind of like. Now I'm just kind of like, I'm in a place where economically I can just breathe a little. I just kind of want to see what happens if I just take my time and just be a free agent, you know?
there you go. See
But
what
I'm
it's like.
working, you
It's
know?
work.
Like shit's getting done, you know? It's just, I have time now. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I just want to see what happens now and make my own opportunities. I don't know, it's a weird place to be. I know it's a mouthful, but...
Yeah. And you get all the time in the world to binge watch TV shows and stuff like that.
Which I've been doing, which helps with our show. 'Cause
Exactly.
I watched many, many wonderful things. Yeah.
I found a show that I've started watching it. I would like to binge watch it, but I just have so many other things to do. I'm not able to binge it as much as I would like to.
Right?
But dude, I am super excited about this show, and let me fucking tell you,
Jesus.
this is like my dream show. Okay, I had no idea that this thing. Well, like I kind of knew it existed, but I didn't know exactly what it was. Right.
Okay.
And so I
you
finally
knew you could smell it, but you didn't know what what the ingredients were.
I knew it existed, and I knew, like a couple of the ingredients, so it was like, okay, I'm going to want to check that out eventually. And I finally decided to. It's a anime based off of a series of novels. But let me tell you this. The author of those series of novels is the very same author who wrote the novels of The Legend of Galactic Heroes.
Whoa.
Which I fucking love that show.
That's a nice pull.
Yeah, and we did a crunchy peanut butter episode on that for our regular show. And it's a fantastic show.
So is it a more current show?
Not necessarily. So I believe the novels. So the novels and this show is called The Heroic Legend of Arslan.
This guy needs to learn how to shorten his titles.
I know, right?
God.
And not use like heroic and legend. And
got Mr. John Hancock over here. Christ.
But so I believe there's 17 novels in total.
Christ.
And he started writing them, or the first one came out in like 86, and I think the most recent one came out last year.
Whoa. He's still alive?
I guess so. I don't know. But yeah, and so he's been writing those novels, but I started watching the anime, which is based off of a manga adaptation, but the manga, get this, the manga is written and drawn by the woman who made Full Metal Alchemist. Which is like my other fucking favorite anime. So it's just like, god damn it. This is like perfect combo tag team of just like, I love these creators, and here they are like adapting each other's work and stuff and making this awesome show.
If it was a metaphor, it'd be like you spending the night with like your perfect version of a woman or man, and then another perfect version of your woman, and they're like, we both want you. And you're like, awesome. Which
Let's do this.
I can tell you from experience is really good feeling.
But the Legend of Galactic Heroes show is like the space show, right? And it's super political, and it kind of tells you the pros and cons of like democracy and a dictatorship and all of that stuff, you know. But it's this giant chess game. Like you remember that, right? Like you just get to see like all the complicated parts moving and how they interact.
Sometimes they were literally playing 3D chess, literally.
But this is a very similar show, but it's more like Game of Thrones.
You've never watched Game of Thrones?
I have. I've seen like the first like 2 or 3 seasons. And it's Game of Thrones. It's a great show, but it's not for me. Like I don't like the fantasy stuff as much. Elves
Kyle hates
and
horses.
Orcs. No, it's not horses that I don't like, but like
Kyle hates hay and fur and swords.
No.
I want lasers. God damn it.
No, that's not it at all. So, but I mean, like there are good fantasy stuff out there. It's just not like my top priority and stuff like that. But it doesn't have like demons or orcs or elves or, you know, stuff like that. It's more of like historical, like Templars versus you know, someone in Jerusalem, you know. And so it's stuff like that. And it kind of has that same level of, okay, let's zoom out and just watch this entire chess game of what's happening between these two kingdoms at war. And the main character is a prince, and he like sees his father get captured, his mother get captured, and he has no idea. Like he's like 13. So he's just like, fuck, I have no idea what I'm doing with my life or how to rule a kingdom. And so he has to like go into exile, but he starts like teaming up with all these people and stuff like that. It's like, okay, if you really want to start taking over, here's what you got to do, you know?
Yeah.
So it's sweet. The Heroic
Sounds tight.
Legend of Arslan. It's only like 26 episodes, I think, or at least the first season is. I think there's a second one, but it's like 8.
That sounds like for you, like it sounds like you had a dream, and you're like, dude, I had this dream where like the writer of Legend of Galactic Heroes and like the artist, like, oh, I wish.
It's exactly that, because like they have that, like it's two creators that I love, that it's two creators that I love, but then it also has that chess game, which is super fascinating for me to watch. But then I'm also a big fan of Gundam stuff, which is more of that like space sci-fi, giant robots and stuff like that. But Gundam always has a villain, or usually has one, that's this like dashing character with some kind of mask.
So Kylo Ren, basically.
Kind of, but it's usually this like blonde Aryan type of character with this like kind of like masquerade mask on, like covering his face. Maybe they had some like horrible disfiguration or something, but they like it has that too. It has this bad guy that like has this mask. I'm just like, they are pushing all of my buttons right now. This is so sweet. It has the chess game. It has it has that like Yang Wenli character and the Reinhard dude. They're on opposite sides, but they're kind of friends,
Yeah, yeah.
It has that.
You like the macro thing. You don't like the small stories. You like the big operatic space laser.
Well,
that's your shit.
I like both, but yeah, like this just had it has that stuff, and it's like, ooh, it has this like macro, full scale war, and I can see what's happening, at a distance. But then it has like the Gundam reference where it's like, oh, here's the dashing villain with the mask. That it's like, oh, I love this. This is so good.
Did you ever play like Risk with your family?
No, not with my family. I was never a big Risk fan just because it took forever.
Because I feel you're talking like someone who plays Risk,
right?
who's like stratagem. Shit, the armies are coming. What the fuck are we gonna do? No, like.
Yeah, I mean it's fun. I've definitely played Risk, and it's so much fun. But for like game night thing, you have to invest so much time into that. It's not just game night. Yeah, that too. It's like, why the fuck are you still in Australia? God damn it! Like,
I value my friends too much to play games with them.
That's so
cool,
funny.
Man.
Yeah,
I'm happy for you. Like, I really don't know what to say because I'm not gonna watch it, but I'm happy for you.
Who knows? Maybe in a year it might come back up on the Whatnauts. Be like, fine, Kyle, I'll do it.
Yeah. Like, oh shit, you got a new car? That's great, man. I'm not gonna drive it, but hey, that's a sweet looking ride. Good for you. I'm happy for you, buddy. You want me to talk about my space show?
Yes, sir.
Star Trek Discovery.
Tell me about it, because I've only seen the Star Trek movie, the more recent one, like the first one of the more recent trilogy. That's it. That's all I've seen.
Let me tell you something about this. All right, this show is up there with those atrocities. The fact that this show is not more recognized or more talked about, it is, but like not to the level that, I don't know, like Halo or Destiny or like you know what I mean. Like there's certain stuff that everyone talks about, like The Last Jedi, for instance.
Or if you go to like TV shows and movies like The Last Jedi right now, or Black Mirror,
like number 5 trending. The fact that it's not more talked about, that there's not more of a buzz about it, like on CNN or what, is an atrocity, because it's like, it's so good. Like, no, like the look of like Star Trek,
right?
The one with Benedict Cumberbatch, and how it looks really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
They got the same look.
Oh, nice.
It doesn't look like a TV show. And the actors they hire are like recognized Hollywood actors.
You said how many episodes was it?
There's six. There's six so far. I think there's like 15 total, but they've only released six.
Okay.
And they're gonna release like the next, I think 9 or something. Weekly, which is kind of cool.
Okay, cool.
But it's like, dude, like, I know this might sound blasphemous, but I say this as a Star Wars fan. This is Star Wars. Like,
this
more
is what
than
you wanted Star Wars to be.
No, not even that. It's just literally Star Wars. It's like wars that take place in within stars, and
Yeah.
like
I've
the opening shot.
Go
Dude,
ahead.
This is like, imagine you had the sensibility of the original series. You know what I mean? You know, the we're centered around ideas, and cultures, you know, and intellect, and using your brain to escape the situation rather than your guns.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that you took that sensibility and you married it with the visual effects of a full Hollywood movie set in space.
Yeah.
It's
sweet.
phenomenal. I'm like, holy fuck! Like, it's so good. It looked like, you know, how The Last Jedi was spellbinding, and it looks like The Last Jedi. It's just that good. And I was hooked. Me and Sarah were just like, holy shit! Like, we just binged all 9 episodes that were available.
Nice.
In like 2 days, because it was just that good.
Yeah, I've heard good things, and I'm kind of kicking myself in the pants because Star Trek has always been something that I want to get into because it's right up my alley.
This one's really cool. There's instances of like time loops.
Okay.
Crazy creatures. Just there's entire episodes where they solve it by just thinking about it. Like, let's just think about this. Like, oh, this is how we're gonna solve it, and you're like, oh, that's genius. Like, you know, there's racism involved. There's xenophobia involved. Like, the opening shot, you see these Vulcans talking, they speak in their Vulcan tongue, and you're just like, oh shit! Like, the costuming is so intricate. It looks movie budget, you know. It's just beautiful, and you really care about the characters.
So how much Star Trek stuff have you watched? Is this one of your first things?
I've watched I'm gonna be honest. Like, I've watched like maybe like 1 or 2 of the real series, of the original one.
Okay.
But I've read so much about it. I've watched a lot of stuff about it, so that I kind of know what the heart is. You know, I'm not a huge Trekkie. I'm saying this show made me a Trekkie.
Okay.
I've watched the
Cool.
newer movies. I've watched Picard. I've watched all that stuff.
Okay.
But this was just special. The main character is this young black woman who was human but was raised on Vulcan.
Okay.
So
she has that like half and half. Like, I'm human, but I also shouldn't really be human.
I'm logical.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so you see this, and it's a very relevant show. That there's you know, there's the LGBTQ community is gonna really love it. You know, it's just very, because the entire show is about acceptance and exploring and, you know, having an open mind.
Okay.
And, you know, the cast of characters is young, hip, you know, whatever you want to call it. You know, like, just relevant actors. And oh my god, the performances, it's just, dude, it's so good. It's just, I want more. And just
Sounds
watch
like you
it.
will
Like,
get
just,
more soon.
dude, just watch episode 1. Honestly, it's just like,
it's like, need to.
It's so good.
Have you also heard about the show The Orville?
Yeah, there's a lot of Star Trek shit going on these days.
Yeah, I heard that one is good too, and it's like a spoof of some of the older Star Trek stuff, or not even older, but just like it's kind of a fan made, like, let's make our own version of Star Trek.
Yeah, yeah. I heard the humor is really weird in that in that show. In that it's like really serious stories, but there's slapstick humor.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Isn't that weird? So you like, and they did that intentionally, but it's kind of like okay.
I don't know.
But
I've heard good things about both of them.
sure,
But
yeah. But dude,
yeah.
Star Trek Discovery, like, I can't, like, I was watching it, and Sarah can attest to this. I kept saying, this is what's The Last Jedi should have been. This is what The Last Jedi should have been. There's like 10-minute pockets per episode where I'm like, this trumps The Last Jedi. Where it's like more
That's cool.
exciting than the premise of that movie.
Well,
Honestly.
there's honestly not much that happened in The Last
Exactly,
Jedi 2. It's a slow
exactly.
chase.
Exactly. I'm just kind of like, yo, if you hired these writers, oh, they would deliver so good. There's like so much like, it's just great, and it's relevant. It's sexy. It's shot so well, and I know I can confidently say I know it looks good, and this shit looks amazing.
Cool.
Like you can't look better, like right now.
Sounds
But yeah,
good. You
that's-
also were diving, or was diving. Wait, were or was? I'm all messed up here. I can't speak. You
Wait,
have been diving into Black Mirror, and
Yeah,
you finished
yeah.
it.
I have a
Talk to
weird
me.
relationship with Black Mirror. I've watched season 1, and I've watched the last season, or the latest season, but I've skipped seasons with 2 and 3. But they're not interconnected, not really.
Right.
It's all like, it's like Twilight Zone episodes, you know?
Yeah.
Dude,
Good stuff.
shit freaked me. It's scary. It's so scary. There's this one episode, I'm not really giving anything away, but it's called, I'm not even going to tell you what it's called, but there's this just
Is it
AI
the Hang
drone.
the DJ one?
No, that one's cool. That one's really cool. But like
I've
this
been
one is,
hearing that name. Like, oh my
That one's
god, you
really
gotta
cool.
watch that one.
yeah. There's only like 6, and they all
Yeah.
have like distinct names. So, uh, so there's one where this company of people are being chased by this robot,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a security unit. But you can very quickly see. I'm not giving anything away, but its objective is to kill.
Okay.
Cannot reason. It's small. It's like the size of a dog, but it's like extremely fast. Like, you know, have you ever seen a dog run full blast?
Yeah.
Like a small. They cover a lot of ground really fast, right? Imagine that, but it's doesn't have to eat. It has guns all over it. Has tracking devices that like jump out of it and explode like shrapnel, and they get lodged in you.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Yeah, yeah. And exactly, yeah. And when it finds you, it like, you know, explodes that tracker on you, so it knows where you are. So it does not stop until your heartbeat is no more. And it's like, oh my god, this is inevitable. It's this little creature that will hunt you down until you're dead. And
Mhm.
it will stop at nothing. It will stop at nothing. And it's so fast, and it can see you from miles away. Like, it... Oh, dude. And the way these shows are set up, I don't think Charlie Brooker is the writer. He's a British guy. He's a genius.
Right.
The way he writes
Take a drink.
yeah. The way he writes the episodes, or the show rather, is he's not just trying to freak you out, which he does, but it's more of like, guys, don't you see where we're going?
Oh, sure.
If we keep this up, it's, you know what I mean. It's very Orwellian. It's very Orwell.
I
That Orwell was like, hey guys, come on, like,
yeah.
what are we doing
I
here?
kind of remember when we talked about season 1 on our episode of that, us being like, it's kind of like, what if technology was a drug, right? It's like, these are the
Yeah.
effects, guys. Be careful, you know.
Yeah.
Warning.
There's an episode where, you can now, like, it's called Crocodile,
Hmm.
where you can, where there's this device. It's kind of like a little computer unit, and it's connected to this like wireless little thing you can stick into your head, and you can, like, the person who is applying all that they just ask you to remember something, and they can watch it on their
Right.
screen, and you're just like, oh my god, that's amazing, and you're like, well, what if someone has something that they don't want you to see? And what lengths would they go to protect that? You know?
Just
And
like,
you're just like,
how to keep information private and stuff, and
This-
like a more and more
not private,
technological.
not private. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just like let's talk about things that shouldn't be uncovered. You know what I mean? And you just watch the person in this episode, like, their world unravel, because this technology exists, and maybe they've done a bad thing,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just like, holy shit, like the length, and here's the best part about Black Mirror. Every episode is set up in such a way that you buy it.
Yeah.
You know, it's stark. You just buy it. Like, every episode is like, what, 30 minutes long? By minute 10, I'm like, oh my god, please make it through, baby, please make it through. I don't know you, I would know, just but please, no, they're gonna, oh shit, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
You're just drawn in immediately. You're just like, oh my god, what's gonna happen?
I want to throw my phone in the toilet after watching season 4. I was like, fuck that. Like,
Fuck you, NSA.
let me just put it this way. After watching season 4, I was like, suicide sounds amazing. I'm just gonna leave you with that. I watched season 4, and I was like, to kill oneself is a blessing. To have that ability is a blessing.
Weird.
That's what I took away from season 4 of Black Mirror. To kill oneself is a right. It is in fact a privilege.
I don't know, man. That show gives you a lot to think about.
I know. I watched it like weeks ago. I'm still thinking. I'm like, ugh, it's terrifying. The lengths that they'll go.
Yeah.
In this show.
I've seen a couple memes floating around. One is that meme, I don't even remember what show it's from originally, but it's from some like TV sitcom where the guy is looking all crazy and he has like the white board with all the red strings and stuff, like the conspiracy thing, and he's looking all frazzled, and it's like me trying to explain, X, Y, and Z. But they had that meme, and it's like, this is the writer's room for Black Mirror.
Yeah.
It's just this like
exactly
crazed conspiracy thing. But then I saw something on the opposite end. Someone on Twitter wrote, like, the writers, the person writing Black Mirror sounds like they're like a drunk British hobo. And they're just mumbling to themselves. And then he was like, dude, what if your mom run out of batteries?
yeah
Just like, yeah, that's not far off.
exactly. Charlie Brooker, the writer, would laugh at that. He'd be like, that's so fucking accurate.
What if your mom ran out of batteries?
exactly And it's just like, but Charlie Brooker is really cool. He's like this beautiful British guy. I think I find him handsome, but like super smart. He has his own show on BBC, where he waxes philosophical, but it's like cut really well. So it's like, oh, like he's got his hand on the pulse. You know what I mean? Like he's the guy on TV who's like, all right, let me explain Brexit. This is what happened.
Oh, so he's smarter than the rest of us. Great.
Oh, dude, he's the guy that smirks while telling you the world is gonna end, and you can see
That's
the
a
fire,
scary
and you can see the mushroom cloud in his eyes. You're like, oh shit, this guy's nothing but think all day. So that's why the shows are so good, because this guy's like, I know how to tell a story, just muscle, no fat.
That's crazy.
He's really good. He's just really good at talking, really good at thinking, and I was like, of course he wrote this fucking show. He's crazy.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Anyway, dude, Star Trek Discovery. Just watch episode 1, seriously, and you're hooked.
Yeah.
It's that good, and I'm so glad I have the time now to really watch it and binge it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Right now, I have to do some catching up on 6 Feet Under for our crunchy peanut butter episode coming up at the end of the month here.
I do apologize. I didn't pick a more titillating show.
Well, no. So
I know it's long.
So when,
I know it's hard to take in.
When we were talking, Paul and I, before we got on the episode, I messaged him this morning. I was like, hey, I want to try a new thing out on the show. Like, I want to start off the show like we're going to, like we normally do, do our introductions and stuff like that. But then I want to like have a preview of like what we're going to be talking about in each show. And I'm like, okay, I have to like give Paul an example somehow. So I'm like, coming up, we're gonna be talking about an anime that's kind of like Game of Thrones, and Paul meets a hobo on the bus. And then you message me back and you're like, I actually did meet a hobo today.
I did.
So I was like, well, I wouldn't put it past you, but I was not expecting that.
I really did meet a hobo today. It was like, and I have a story about it.
No, you're just that kind of person, though. Like, I remember when you were back here in Richmond, like a couple of the homeless people that we would see often like knew you and like knew your name, and they'd be like, hey Paul, what's up, man?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I guess I'm just more open-minded than most people,
or at least just like willing to like stop and talk.
Yeah, because like everybody, if you're a human being and you're not insane, you have a story, you have a perspective that I don't, that no one else has. And I'm like, okay, well, who are you? What perspective do you have?
Mm-hmm.
What? Yeah, at what volume do you hear the world? I don't care if they smell bad. I don't care if they need money. I'm just like, who are you?
Yeah. I do remember it was 4 or 5 years ago now. Sydney and Elena are some friends of ours, met some homeless guy that like followed him around and started like singing with them. Do you remember? I totally forget the dude's name, but I remember that they had like such a mixed experience with this dude, because at times they were like, it was the best thing ever, it was so funny, it was so much fun, and then other times they were just like, oh my god, he's gonna kill us. Like, what in the world is happening?
That's the thing about homeless people. I think they're still people, but then you're like, you don't know.
You gotta be careful,
Most everyone you meet who smells good,
anyone
combs their hair,
you have to be careful. Yeah.
You're like most people you meet on the subway, they're kind of boring. They ate spaghetti, they did their job, and they're going home now. Hobo, they don't really have that kind of schedule. They're up, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And it's like,
sounds like you, Paul.
Like today, the hobo I met,
waking up at 3, not doing anything.
I'm kind of a privileged hobo. It's what I am. But the hobos I met today, I was sitting, smoking, and considering applying for unemployment checks, and I see this dog come up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, hey buddy, and it's attached to these 2 Portuguese young people who I could you could smell them, and they come up to me, and the girl like kind of like kneels, and she's staring up at me. I'm just like sitting on the bench, and I've seen them before. This is like one of their frequent locales,
right?
Where I've met them before because they've begged me for money before, and she's like literally like making a prayer motion, kind of like putting her fingers together.
Mm-hmm.
I can't hear her because I'm listening to my podcast, not mine, but just a podcast.
How like hear her. Narcissistic of you, Paul.
No, I'm getting to that, and I'm like, I'm not even looking her in the eye. I just didn't feel like in a good mood,
Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of like, whatever. And I'm like, now you're here and I have to deal with you. Okay. And she kept doing it, and I was like, fine. I'm not even looking at her. I'm just reaching in my wallet. I didn't even count the change, but I knew it wasn't like $1, and just put it in her hand. And she just kept walking and kept smoking. And I was just kind of like, I thought about it, and I was like, you're kind of them. You just have better paperwork.
Yeah.
There's
not much that separates you there.
Yeah, I was not the hero in that story. I barely looked at them. I was like, ugh, you're okay. Well, here you go. I'll see you tomorrow, I guess, because you'll always come here.
Yeah.
With your dog. Like, you're still young. You could literally get a job. But then I was like, I don't have a job. Fuck it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just weird interaction, but I couldn't judge them. But I did. I don't know. I don't know what that says about me, but I still felt better than them at the end of the day.
Who knows, man? Life is strange.
I'm just trying to be honest. That was my day, honestly.
Yeah.
Because you asked me about a hobo, jokingly. I was like, I did meet a hobo.
When I mentioned that, I actually was thinking about the time you were on a bus home and you met that one dude who ended up being like super racist. Like, I think this was like right after one of the big like mass shootings happened. And and it was just like Paul just met some random strange man on the bus, you know, I just happened to write hobo, and you're like,
dude,
I actually met one today.
That guy was so frightening. Like, the last thing I'll say, because I've been talking a lot, but like he's like one of those people where you're like if I found out he killed someone, I
wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
yeah. You're just like, all right, well, I should have told the police when I had the chance, but okay. Like, oh god, terrifying. But what? Yeah, more about you.
More about me. One thing I have not talked about. I read a shit ton of comics over the holiday break. Yeah. I know, right? Like, who are you and what have you done with Kyle? Why would he ever read comic books, you know?
Really fast.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that sound? Would you connotate
like,
that as a sexual sound?
No.
Okay.
Not in the way that most people do it.
Listen. I've done it to like every like partner I've had, and they're all like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And I'm like,
because it's weird and creepy when you do it like that.
Here's the thing. I'll agree to that. Maybe that's the facts, but for some reason I'm convinced in my head that that's a sexy noise, so I do it. And they're always like, "Stop doing that," and I'm like, "I can't. I think it's sexy. I can't. I don't. I'm sorry that I think that way. You're probably right."
Okay, we're putting my comics on hold right now. We're talking about this.
No, let's get back to it. That's all I wanted to say.
No, you're talking about this, Paul, because this is weird and it's funny, and I love it.
Okay. So the sound is this. If you had to capture the sound,
it's rolling your R's. It's like that purring sound.
Like I can actually see it on my monitor. It's actually very distinct. Like, and it's not like I'm gonna do it across the room from you. That's not sexy. But you know, like we're kissing, I'm holding you,
no,
taking your time, and then in your ear, I'm like,
no.
I think that's cool.
That's creepy. That is so weird.
What comics did you read? Come on. Everyone I do it to. No, I've yet to meet someone who's like, "Oh, do that more." Like,
so like, I mean, it comes from like rolling your R's and stuff like that, and in languages like Spanish and stuff, that happens more often. That sound happens like in the language, right?
Maybe I gotta meet more Latinas.
And I mean, I'm not gonna say that Latinos a little hike it or Latinos or whoever the Latinx, but like it occurs naturally in that language, and it's one of the love languages. So like that language can be perceived as very sexy, right?
I did grow up in Portugal, which has a romantic language, or literally is known as it.
Sure.
Maybe it's that. And maybe I had like a teacher who rolled her R's, and I was like, I kind of want to see her underwear now.
But it's kind of like too much of a good thing is a bad thing, right? Like it sounds too much really aggression? Like it's just like it's so much of a caricature, right? Where they over exaggerate it.
It's too contrived.
Yeah, it's just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
it's not like a sigh that escapes your lips. Because I'm gonna think about this noise.
You also don't roll your R's, Paul. I don't. You don't have that accent. You don't speak in that language, you know. Roger and so it's also not natural for you. So
I guess if I had like a sexy Brazilian accent, it'd be like,
yeah,
okay.
It'd be one step closer to being better, but still just making that sound with like no context is just like, whoa, what the fuck?
I mean, here's the thing though, I still get laid at the end of the day, and so I'm like, I'm not gonna stop. It's almost like a signature that you leave. Well, that's something else, but like, I don't know. Like
That's terrible.
I'm a victim in this because I know it's
No.
stupid. Because I get told by beautiful women it's stupid. And I'm like, all right, well,
Then don't do it.
I can't help it. It like escapes my lips, man, like a tiger. Like, just like,
God.
I know it's terrible. It's terrible, but I can't.
Okay, comics.
Anyway,
Enough of this.
I love that you were like, "Fuck comics." We're doing this.
Because it's like that came from left field, and it's so weird. It was just like, what in the world? You're like, hold up a sec.
Tiger.
Side note, how do you feel about this sound?
Anyway, let's get over my sex tiger stories. We should call this episode "Sex Tiger." Tiger sex.
Episode 1, Sex Tiger.
I have watched tigers fuck before.
Don't. Okay, let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Literally in front of me. Anyway.
Comics. So I did not have much internet while I was away on vacation, so I downloaded a whole bunch of comics on Comixology and stuff like that, and the time that I did have internet, I was able to find them online and download them that way and stuff like that, and I read a shit ton of things. So I actually before I left for break, I got into a comic book series called Morning Glories. I've been wanting to get into this book for a while. It's written by Nick Spencer, and I don't remember off the top of my head who does the artwork, so I apologize about that. But it's set in a school, and there's like each year or so, new students come. But this book often gets compared to Lost. And that is why I wanted to pick up this book, where it's just like, you don't know what the fuck is going on. You don't know the mysteries of this school and why things are this way, and, But there's some weird shit that happens there. You don't know what the school is, where the school is, when the school is. Like, yeah. But there's just, there's secret dungeons. There is, like false, chalk hordes that they're actually like the one-sided windows, and stuff like that. Not everyone is who they say they are. There's time travel. It's all sorts of crazy stuff.
So Lost, the school edition.
Basically. And I loved it. I thought it was really cool. Unfortunately, it's not finished, so I'm just like, what the fuck?
What the fuck, Japan?
It's not a manga. It's not a Japanese thing. It's an American comic, but it's just like, god damn it! I want to know what the fuck is up with this school, because it is crazy.
So even after, how many volumes have you read of Morning Glories?
I've read everything that's out of it.
And you still have no idea what's going on.
I still have no idea what's going on. I mean, I have more of an idea now, but that meme of just me being like, okay, so here's this weird conspiracy theory, and all of that stuff. Here, let me explain it, okay? That would be me trying to explain what the school is and what's happening. So I'm not even gonna attempt it.
So I got a question.
Yeah.
Is that a tactic to get people to keep reading, or is it just good storytelling?
It's a mix of both. I wouldn't necessarily say it's good storytelling right off the bat, but I mean it's that sensationalized, every issue has some cliffhanger. You learn some new detail that you're like, oh, holy shit, that's what that means, Lost. You remember when we sat down and watched Lost, and there was that one night after it was already 2 a.m. and we had just gotten done with a disc, and you were like, Kyle, I fucking hate you. Put the next disc in. This is so good. I can't stop.
Yeah. No, it's because I've been thinking about that. Because what does it mean to sit there for 40 minutes and afterwards you go, what the fuck's going on? Is that valuable? Is that a good use of my time?
It's the art of the hook, or the cliffhanger, or just something of okay, if we answer one thing, we'll also give you 2 more questions, which
but
that can work for a time, But then, yeah, once it becomes this constant, never-ending, like,
Confusion.
we're not going to answer anything. Like,
Yeah.
you're never going to get closure. Then it's just like, okay. And that's
who's
why
the man in
so many...
black?
Yeah, and that's
Who
why
the fuck's
so
the
many
man?
people don't like Lost, because they get caught up in that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, this show fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Which I
Not,
will
not that I want to
defend.
make it about Lost,
but yeah.
But what more do you like about the what more? Like what are some other aspects of this comic book that you like?
The characters were pretty interesting. It kind of has a mix of them all, so it's kind of like that Breakfast Club vibe, right? Where you have like the nerdy one, you got this one, you got that one, you got all of this stuff, but they're all scheming, and they're all it's one part Lost, one part Hunger Games, one part there's just so much, like Harry Potter mixed in there and stuff like that. It's just, what the hell is
Can I
going
say
on?
something really interesting?
Sure.
If you had told me that instead of saying what do you call it? Instead of saying Morning Glories, and if you had just said The Woods, you could have literally said the same thing, and it would not have made a difference.
It's not The Woods though.
You know what I mean?
It's totally different from that, because it's not like the school was transported and like, oh, we're on some planet, where the hell are we, there's this mysterious wood outside, we need to figure out how to get back home. That's not the story at all. Like, this is it is more like Lost, where like it seemingly looks like they're in modern day times. They go to this school, they get involved with this school, but then you start to see how all of their stories kind of connect before they were at the school. There's time travel involved, so one of the students you find out is like one of the people that is like setting them up to go to this school and stuff like that. So it's super strange. But yeah, they're completely different stories. The Woods was more like Lord of the Flies in space, with this entire school, right? But yeah, so that was one of the ones I read. I read everything that I could find that was translated of Mobile Suit Gundam: The Origin, which is a new manga retelling the original anime. And it's so fucking good.
Oh.
There's also
That's really cool.
anime of the manga, and it's so weird. So there's the original anime from like 79, like 1979. There's this manga that I read, which is like an adaptation of that anime with new information. And then there's an anime adaptation of the manga of the anime.
Christ.
Yeah, but they're all so good. And I happened to get the first volume of Mobile Suit Gundam: The Origin for Christmas, and it's this super nice hardback book, and it is so good. It's beautiful. So I highly recommend that.
No wonder 30% of our downloads come from Japan. You're basically Japanese.
I fucking love
Like,
Gundam.
Like, you would do very well in Tokyo. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you would feel right at home in Tokyo.
Yeah. So that, I also read, I started a bunch of the Valiant universe. I kind of mentioned that on our most recent episode of the regular show, which will be out this weekend for everyone else. But I started to get into like Exo Manowar and Bloodshot, Harbinger. I also read Shadow Man, which was really, really cool. And Archer and Armstrong, which I think you would actually really like Archer and Armstrong, Paul. That book is right up your alley.
Is it an anime? Is it manga?
It's a comic book published by Valiant from the United States here.
Okay.
But one of the main characters he grew up in this cult his whole life, and so now he's like just getting out of this cult and realizing that it was all a big lie. But he's like trained in kung fu and all of that, and it's this super like strange cult, and he has to fight like ninja nuns and stuff like that. But then the person that he was sent to kill ends up being his partner. And they're like, this guy's the Antichrist, he's the devil, he's the worst. But he's this guy from ancient times who happens to be immortal, but he's also like this, like he seems more like an Irish drunk hobo.
Yeah.
And so it's just this like oddball combination of these two guys fighting these like really ridiculous bad guys and stuff.
Yeah.
And they cuss, they drink. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. I think they even have an Archer and Armstrong gear.
Is Valiant become like the new Image?
Paul, are you still there with me? Oh, you asked.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Valiant is becoming more like Image comics.
Yeah, I'm not saying Image is young or Image is younger or older. I'm just like,
is that
you didn't really hear Valiant a lot, but now you do. You know what I mean?
Valiant was around in the 90s. They became really popular in the 90s.
Are they coming back?
They kind of disappeared. I think they went bankrupt.
Kyle?
And then they made like they relaunched in like 2012. And they've been doing really, really good since then. But they focus on superhero books, so all of their books tie in to one another. So it's not in like an independent Image or Boom Studios or stuff like that. But it's all one shared universe. It's like the Mr. Pibb to like Coke and Pepsi.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool because like it's, the handling of different studios informs the storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always like interesting to see like, okay, these are the stories that Marvel tells, these are the stories that DC tells, Image tells these. Okay, what the fuck's Valiant telling?
Yeah. And
so that's really cool.
Yeah, it's their own like shared superhero universe. So if you like superhero books, but you don't want to get like super weighed down by continuity, there is not much yet. There's only been a couple years worth, and they only published like 8 or 9 books. So
Perfect.
like it's not you have to read 50 books to know what's happening.
It's like perfect
Marvel,
for a fan.
DC, so it's a lot more smaller and a lot more manageable, and it's usually often a thing where you won't have to know every other book to know what's happening. Like if you only want to read one book, you'll be golden.
You hear that, Valiant?
That's it.
We got your back. Okay, hire us. We'll be your spokesman. Did you hear that? That was fucking beautiful. It was like, listen, if you're a young kid and you're like, I kind of want to get into comic books. They look cool, but fucking Marvel and DC, fuck them. Go to Valiant.
Yeah, they got some good stuff. Good stuff.
Good shit.
But yeah, that's kind of it for me.
It's cool. Can I say one thing really fast?
Sure, go for it.
I think I mentioned the TV show I want to make for Netflix. It's called The Kang Brothers.
The Kang Brothers. You did not. What is the Kang Brothers, Paul?
I told Ryan Estrada about it. Okay, The Kang Brothers. I really want to get this done.
You like him better than me, don't you?
I just want to work on lots of things. So my brothers and I were like, let's make a TV show, because they actually wanted to for a while. My brother Timothy lives 20 minutes away from the headquarters of Netflix.
There you go.
So I'm like, oh shit. He lives in California. And
just be like, hey there, neighbor, you should produce our show.
Exactly. Like,
neighbor?
I'm like, buddy, make fucking connections, please. So the Kang Brothers, I came up with the concept because they were talking about like a TV show with drugs involved and like college, and I was like, fuck all that. Let's revamp all of this shit. So here's the story. There's 3 alien brothers. They live on this planet, and it's kind of like a mix of like New York with like suburban stuff. So that's their planet, but it looks New Yorkish, suburbanish. And the 2 brothers are roommates. They're living together, and then Luke and Timothy. We didn't change any of our names either. It's just Luke and Timothy. And one day after 5 years, their oldest brother Paul comes back in this rickety old spaceship, and he's like, "Hey guys, been a long time no see. You guys want to do some drugs?" And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Look, I got a suitcase." And he opens the suitcase.
Yeah,
and inside
Morty.
the suitcase, yeah. And inside the suitcase is 10 drugs, 1 drug for each episode, because I want there to be 10 drugs, 10 episodes per season.
Okay.
And so each drug informs and tells us and is the catalyst for each episode, you know. So for the first episode, I want them to, like, he just talks to them. They haven't taken the drug yet, and I've actually laid out the what do you call it? The storyboarding. I've storyboarded it. It's really funny. You know, you see the logo, you see the planet from the outside, then you see like a McDonald's, but it's like the M is upside down. It's called WickDonald's. It's just a yellow W. And then you see my character say, "Hey, give me a happy lunch." And it's like, "All right, coming right up." And then like the camera pans up, and you see these like vials, like these glass vials, transparent, and you see like creatures inside, like sentient creatures. There's one of them, he's like, "Please, I'm a doctor, I have a son, please, no, not me. And like you see them like plug in like a blender, like, you know, a spinning blade underneath the vial. And he's like, "No, I have a son, please, no." And then it cuts back to me, and I'm like, "Yeah, make sure it's extra fresh," and like, "Don't worry about it." And the thing is, like, you can see the entire process like Krispy Kreme. So he's like, "No, I have a son. And then like it like churns him up, but he's like, he can feel everything, and it's kind of slow. And then it cuts back to me, my character, and I'm like,
"'Tis but a flesh wound."
Yeah. And I'm like, I love fresh food. And then like you see the hand, like slow, you know, his hand, he has got a wedding ring on, and like it just like churns away.
That's funny.
And then like, you know, it's connected to a tube, and it squirts out into like this square machine with the McDonald's logo on it, and like out pops this perfect, delicious burger. Like, "All right, here you go, sir." And I'm like, "Thanks. Can I get like a discount?" "Sure, you're one of our best customers." I'm like, "Aw, thanks. I love McDonald's." And I'm like eating it, and then I'm like, "All right, you guys ready to do the drugs?" And he's like, "Yep." So we take the drug, and like for the first episode, I want to do one where each episode is 20 minutes long. That's how long the trip lasts. This drug makes every minute feel like 10,000 years, but you can feel every year. And so for the 20-minute episode, they're in a 20,000 year time loop, or they're just, you know. And I just want to go crazy with that. I just want to see like what it makes them do. I want them to like make civilizations, like explore space. But then at the end of it, you don't. It makes you forget all the years.
Okay.
So like I just want to go crazy with that. Like here's the Kang Brothers in a nutshell. I want to make a TV show that helps you trip, that helps you get super high. It's the show that people will go to after they smoke a joint or they do a huge hit on a bong. They're like, "Dude, what do you want to do?" Like, "Let's watch the Kang Brothers, man. That shit always gets me high." You know, like I want it to be raw.
Okay.
I want it to be gross. I want to talk about like humanity, and really poke fun at everything that we do.
It feels like it would fit really well on Adult Swim.
Exactly. Yeah, Adult Swim or Netflix, I don't care. But like, you know what I mean? Like that's the first episode. Like these are not heroes.
Yeah.
You know, these are just. I'm like, oh yeah, and I even pick the thing I'm gonna eat. I'm like, I point to that. I'm like, all right, coming right up. He's like, "No!" And I can hear him screaming.
That's funny, yeah.
And I'm like, and I've already designed the characters. Like, I've made a poster for it. I think I sent it to you. If I haven't, I sent it to Ryan.
You sent it to Ryan. It wasn't me. This is the first time hearing about all of this.
But here's the thing. Like every episode, I want like a different hip hop soundtrack. So I want like if I do make it, I want you to like make a soundtrack for episode.
Damn,
I'll
it
contact
feels
another
good
guy.
to be a gangster.
Yeah. I don't know. I've got a lot of big plans for it. Like Rick and Morty's not enough. Like it doesn't trip me when I watch it. It's funny, but I want to make something like really crazy, like Ren and Stimpy style, like Ren and Stimpy for 2020s.
There you go.
You know, like I want it to be like, ugh. My brothers and I are like, they're just. I'm trying to think. You know how I talk a lot? I'm sorry if I'm talking a lot.
You know how I talk a lot? I'm sorry
if
I'm talking a lot.
But like it's because my brain goes like a mile. It's like 10 miles a minute.
I'm
But my
right there
brothers
with
are the
you.
same way. My brothers are like this. Yeah. So like, there's the three of us now. We're all working together on this like cool idea.
Oh, we can do this. We can do that. We can do this.
Yeah. And I want them to be their own characters in the
Right.
show. So it's the Kang brothers, and there's no need to be like made by the Kang brothers. It's just the Kang brothers.
There you go.
And I want there to be one last thing I'll say. I want there to be an episode where like we get so high that like we find it like it goes from animation to like filmed, and I'm like, and it's me, but I'm like dressed as my character. I'm like, what the fuck, like you know. They're like, what is this? And then we go to the recording studio, and I'm recording my lines, and I'm like, wait, that's what I said Tuesday. Like, what? You know, like, am I meeting God? Like, so, like, really trippy episodes like that.
That'd be fun.
So,
that'd be good.
yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
cool.
And I want you to be part of it. Like, I want there to be like a Whatnauts reference every episode.
Yep.
You know.
That's
maybe you could be
their
a
that's
supporting
their
voice.
like favorite radio show.
Yeah. I want there to be an episode. You know the aliens that go to Sarah and Paul, and they're like, "You gotta suck your dad's dick to save the world."
Mhm.
I want one episode
Those
where
guys.
she's the alien, and it's
Sarah
like
and
me
Paul have to save the world.
Yeah. I want there to be an episode where like they want hamburgers. Like, fuck, I'm hungry. Like, everywhere's closed, so we go to Earth. We get a cow. We pick it up using a laser, and then like we fly off, and like it pans over, and the farmer's like, "Oh my fucking god!" And like the next scene is like us eating hamburgers.
That's great.
Just shit like that. Like
Food
I can
stuff.
just see it. It's so funny. It's like, anyway, sorry.
That's A-okay. A-okay. I
Yeah.
think we will wrap it up there, though. We have been streaming for a little over an hour. Good
Yeah.
stuff.
Is there anything else you want to talk about, man?
No, not really. I don't really have much. It's kind of been a light week for me, especially since we kind of talked about a lot of the holiday stuff on our 2-year anniversary retrospective.
That's true.
Which, if you missed the live stream for that, it will be out this weekend for
Yeah.
everyone to listen to, as well as our episode on The Host. So go watch it. It's a Korean monster movie film, and if you're in
So
the
good.
U.S., it's on Hulu. So go check it out.
You're so different when you're not drinking.
How was I different?
I like you more when you're drinking. Honestly, I like said no wife ever, but like when you drink, you're like jolly.
All right, I do have one more story.
Okay, let's do this.
Okay. So yesterday I ordered pizza for dinner, and it took
course.
like 2 hours to get here.
Oh no,
It was
you
awful.
deserve to get that for free.
Yeah, well, you could tell that they were very busy. Just even watching the like Domino's pizza tracker, like it was slower than normal. But then, yeah, like it goes out for delivery and it's taken forever. And like I'm sitting there waiting, and they eventually come, and like they had a good reason. Like it's slow, it's icy out and raining, it's terrible weather, but also the students are coming back. Like I live in a college town. This is like the first day that they're coming back. So what's the first thing that a college student is gonna do? You know, like they're gonna order a fucking pizza because
It's Murphy's Law,
have to
man.
think, you know.
Everything that can go wrong will go wrong.
So I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like I won't fault you. I'm a nice guy like that. Maybe too nice, you know. But
Yeah.
But as I was sitting there waiting for my pizza, one of my roommates was like, "Man, Domino's fucked up my thing like last week too," you know, like and I like without even missing a beat, I was like, "Did you fight them? We should fight them. Let's go fight them right now." And my
They're within
other-
walking distance.
yeah, I am. And so my third roommate was like, "Kyle, did you have any more of those beers that are in the fridge? And I was like, no, I just had those 3. Why? She goes, you're feisty. Like, what the hell? Like, I've never seen you like this. I'm like, no,
That's
I'm
so
completely sober. Let's go fight them.
Yeah.
I'm sober.
I'm sober. This is pizza, okay?
Yeah.
This is not a fucking drill.
I was like, I am
don't
just
know.
hangry. I am hungry and I am angry, and this is not a good combination. Let's go fight them right now.
Nancy, I don't know where you were born, but this is pizza. We're just like, don't fuck around with you.
Whatever.
Oh, God.
This
Yo,
was a
God,
good one. I stopped talking about comics just so we could talk about your weird purring sound. Okay?
You
Great
wanted
episode.
it to. I'm not interrupting.
I know. I'm not saying you interrupted. I mean,
Okay.
you did. You were like, wait, hold on. What do you think about the sound? But I stopped it. I was like, stop the presses. We're talking about this.
We're talking about pizza.
Anyways, we
That's so
will
funny.
sign off for now. We will be back next week for another adventure of the Captain's Log, and be on the lookout this weekend, not only for our 2-year anniversary retrospective, but our episode on the host. And we will also be streaming another episode as well. That one's going to be on a manga called Vinland Saga. We are reading volumes 1 and 2, so go check it out, y'all.
God damn. Kyle,
Yes.
we talk to people in America and Japan, the UK, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the places. Any words of advice for them for this week?
Any words of advice? Don't purr in your partner's ear during sex.
Hey, and take it from a guy who knows. Unless they want you to. Unless that's their thing. You know?
I mean,
then
if
purr
they
away.
ask you, go for it.
Sure. Yeah, if they're weird like me, I guess. Although if a woman did to me, I wouldn't find it that arousing. So
Exactly. It's creepy and weird.
listen, I'm just
anyways.
a guy trying to figure out why I find it appealing.
What's
Alright? I'm not saying it is. I'm just trying to figure out why I find it appealing.
what's your advice, Paul?
Try to take it slow this week, you know? Just, if you feel pressure coming on, just realize that you're an insignificant speck floating through a vast, empty universe with no real purpose. And everything that you see is just a complex arrangement of all basic building blocks. There is no truth, there is no false. It's just take it slow. Just see all this for what it is. Smoke a lot of weed and be nice to each other, I guess.
There you go. And with that, my name is Kyle Springer,
And I'm Paul Kang.
and we are the Whatnauts.
You're goddamn right we are.
Adios, guys.
Bye.